In early 2026, the Middle East is an absolute powder keg. Today, we're breaking down the Iran-Israel missile war, a conflict that is threatening to spiral out of control and change everything we know about the region. So, let's jump right in.
And this is why we're talking about it right now. This is the just stark ultimatum that came from the White House, putting the entire world on notice. A deadline is ticking down, and you really can't overstate the stakes here. This single quote sets the stage for everything that's happening.
So how in the world did we get here? To really get a handle on this crisis, you've got to go back to the very beginning, to the moment this whole thing exploded.
Okay, so it all kicked off on February 28th. That morning, the U.S. and Israel launched these coordinated strikes on targets inside Iran. It didn't take long for a response. By that same evening, Iran's retaliation began, with missiles flying across the region. But they were really zeroing in on Israel. And then, this is crucial, President Trump came out and said it plainly. The whole point of those initial strikes was to trigger regime change in Iran. So right from day one, this was an all-or-nothing kind of conflict.
You know, this thing moved past a simple tit-for-tat exchange almost immediately. The way these attacks were carried out, it showed us we're looking at a totally new and, frankly, alarming type of warfare.
The sheer scale of Iran's opening salvo was just immense. In the first 10 days alone, they fired something like 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. This wasn't just a message, this was a barrage designed to completely overwhelm even the world's most advanced air defenses.
And here's a really critical piece of the puzzle. Israeli defense officials figure that nearly half of those missiles were armed with cluster bomb warheads, and that choice has absolutely devastating consequences for anyone on the ground.
So, what exactly is a cluster munition? Well, think of it like this. It's a weapon that pops open in the air and just scatters, sometimes hundreds of these little bomblets over a huge area, like the size of several football fields. They're so indiscriminate that an international treaty bans them because the risk to civilians is just off the charts.
But then, after that massive opening attack, something interesting happened. The missile and drone launches from Iran just plummeted. We're talking a drop of over 90% by day 10. But why they dropped off so sharply is a huge point of debate right now.
So there are two main schools of thought here. On one side, you have analysts saying it's a clear sign of success, that U.S. and Israeli counterstrikes have just wiped out most of Iran's missile launchers. But the other theory is that Iran's leadership is actually playing the long game, deliberately holding back the remaining missiles for a much longer, drawn-out war.
Look, behind all the military jargon and the strategic debates, there is a very real, very profound human cost. So let's turn to the devastating impact this war is having on ordinary people just trying to live their lives. The numbers, honestly, they tell a pretty grim story. As of April 6th, we know at least 23 civilians in Israel have been killed in these attacks, and the number of injured has soared past 7,000. And you have to remember, every single one of those numbers is a person, a family shattered.
The deadliest single attack so far happened back on March 1st in a city called Beit Shemesh. A missile scored a direct hit on a shelter that was located inside a synagogue. 9 civilians were killed. It was just this horrifying reminder that even the places you're told are safe might not be.
And remember those cluster munitions we were talking about? Well, on March 9th in Yehud, we saw the horrific impact firsthand. 2 construction workers were killed when bomblets from a cluster warhead just rained down on them. They were completely caught in the open with absolutely nowhere to go.
And the threat is just constant, it's totally unpredictable. I mean, just a few days ago, on April 5th in Haifa, an Iranian missile slammed into a 6-story apartment building, causing the top floors to just pancake down. 4 people were found in a stairwell. They were killed just moments away from making it to safety.
So when you're facing a barrage like this, how do you even begin to defend your people? Well, the answer lies in this incredibly sophisticated, multi-layered defensive shield.
Israel's defense basically has 4 main parts. You've got the Arrow system, that's for the big, long-range ballistic missiles coming all the way from Iran. Then there's David's Sling, which takes care of medium-range threats. Of course, there's the famous Iron Dome for short-range rockets. And then the last line of defense is for civilians themselves, the Mamad, these reinforced safe rooms that are built right into their homes.
But here's the thing, even a system this robust is being pushed to its absolute limit. That insane number of incoming missiles has everyone worried about running out of the Arrow interceptors needed to shoot them down. It's gotten so serious the Israeli government has had to approve a massive ramp-up in production just to try and keep up.
And all of this military action brings us to right now, to this incredibly high-stakes endgame that's playing out on the world stage.
It's a mix of brute force threats and some really desperate last-ditch diplomacy.
So this table really lays out where everybody stands. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps is saying they are ready for a long war, and they're not backing down. The U.S. has thrown down the gauntlet with this hard deadline, threatening huge strikes if a deal isn't reached. And in the middle, you have negotiators scrambling, with one of the biggest sticking points being the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
And if you want to know how Iran feels about all this, just listen to this quote from an IRGC spokesperson. It's pure defiance, it's a promise to keep fighting, and it's a direct challenge to all that pressure coming from the United States.
So we're really at a tipping point. That American deadline is just hours away, the negotiations are frantic, and you have both sides publicly refusing to budge. The question on the screen is the one the entire world is asking right now. Are we about to see a diplomatic breakthrough, or is this conflict about to get a whole lot bigger and a whole lot worse?